And so let us just step into blessing this day, this center, this service. Let's take a moment to bless all those who have shown up in service today, whether it be in our amazing choir, our sound and video people, those next door, waiting for our children to arrive, our greeters, and of course all those who are here, who are online, and who are on their way. We are absolutely soaked in blessings this morning. Please help me anchor this by saying, and so it is. Good morning, everyone. I see you all survived the holiday. That's good. So far. Yeah, I guess the big holiday's coming, right? So this morning, we have this extraordinary event where we usually light our candles to represent all the different faiths. But this morning, we get to not only honor Hanukkah, but we also get to honor Kwanzaa. So for our Hanukkah candle lighters, we have Claire and Jessica.
Let's begin with the Hanukkah story. So basically it goes like this. The Jews in 2nd century BCE, before the Common Era, were invaded by terrorists. And, thank you. Yes, so the Jews were invaded by terrorists, and they fought hard for 3 to 7 years, depending on the source that you read, and they won. And they won their religious freedom. But during those years of invasion and oppression, their temple was trashed. And so when they could re-enter it to begin restoration, they found only a bit of oil, because back in those days they didn't have electricity, so they needed to use the oil to provide light. So they had enough oil for just one night. But the miracle was this oil lasted 8 full nights and full days. And so the leaders of the Jews proclaimed that from henceforth, every year they would celebrate this miracle of the oil and the dedication of the temple for 8 days. And they called this celebration, as we now know it, Hanukkah. And Hanukkah actually is Hebrew for dedication. So the message of the story, public speaking, is that this oil showed the Jews that God had never left them, and he would always be with them. And it was up to the Jews to find the light in the darkness. So now we're going to light the candles. And usually when we do light the candles, we also sing a blessing, which I'm going to sing as Claire does it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lechadlik ner shel Hanukkah. And what that means is, blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the world, who made us holy through your commandments and commanded us to light the Hanukkah light.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. And now for our second. Oh, shoot. I don't know the order here. And this is the Christmas candle. What would you like? said. Do you want to? It's Kaleem's Christmas candle.
Yes, thank you. Part of my theme of my talk tonight will include all three, if not four, of the holidays. So in this tradition, in this consciousness, we also want to relight the Christmas candle. And of course, that is the candle, to many of us, a symbol of that is the Christ consciousness, reminding us of the personalization of God in our lives, of love and forgiveness. Thank you, Jessica. Okay.
And so for our third candle lighting this morning, we're going to light the candles of Kwanzaa. And to do that, we have a very special guest. He is 10 years old. He is in 5th grade. Please welcome Asante and his grandfather, Kaleem.
Asante's assistant. All right. And also during this holiday, of course, this time period of the year, we're also celebrating the holiday of Kwanzaa. The African American community celebrates Kwanzaa from December 26th through January 1st as an affirmation of our cultural self-determination. Kwanzaa is not a religious celebration. It's not a substitute for any other celebration, but simply a cultural celebration of family, community, and culture. And during the 7 days, we celebrate 7 principles. And each day we light up the candles up to the principle of the day. So the first candle we're lighting is the black candle for unity. And we also repeat and celebrate the word that day in Swahili. And it's called, and join with me by repeating umoja. So, unity. And the second candle celebrates self-determination. And I'll say this one slowly. Kujichagulia. Self-determination. You did so good on that one. That's great. And the third candle. Okay. And we light the candles from the black candle from this point on. Okay. All right. And the third candle is it's called Ujima. Collective work and responsibility. And the fourth candle is the theme of today, on the 4th day. Okay. Is Ujima. Cooperative economics. Yes. And thank you. And then, of course, each day is along, similar to Hanukkah. We'll then also light the additional candles for each additional day and for the following themes. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Asante. Kaleem, thank you for sharing that tradition. So Kaleem is also our speaker today. And the sacred reading that he has provided, which I'm sure flows with his talk. And I asked him after I read this, I was like, well, who wrote this? You know, we have to. He's like, I did. Okay, so this is Kaleem's writing. I live my prayerful purpose shining brightly in all I do. As I live the light, I experience peace, joy, and true prosperity for myself and the world. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. Awesome. Awesome.
Is it slumber party time? Sorry. Oh, man.
You're jumping the gun, my friend. So, We talk about this every week because it is the cornerstone. It is who we are. It's our foundation. It's what we turn to. If you take nothing else from this service or from entering this space, know that we believe that prayer is the answer. Everything is based in prayer. And it doesn't matter what you're facing or what you're doing. Prayer can help and does. And we're really, really, really good at it. So, we talk about this because we want to offer prayer to you. And we have several different ways that we can do that. The first is right after service, if you're here with us live. You can tap one of the practitioners on the shoulder, and they're all standing now, so you can take a look around. We've got Kaleem and Bob, and we've got the Rev, and we've got Ann, and we've got Judy. We've got Robert holding the presents, and myself. So there's we're one-on-one today. We can pray you all up. That's why. So please tap us on the shoulder before you leave. And we can surround you in prayer support, whether it's, yay, I want more good, or, this situation needs some prayer. So you can also write out a written prayer request. There should be a sheet in the pocket in the seat. And then we have a little prayer box on the way out. You can just toss it in there. And then that prayer goes out to the entire practitioner corps, and we will pray for you and for that situation for the entire week. And then, of course, our last way, because, who showed up with everything perfectly ready to go? Because we all know that crisis usually happens after you put your pajamas on. And so know that no matter where you are, no matter what time it is, we're here for you. You just need to go to our website and enter a prayer request. And we've got you covered instantly. So if you need prayer, if you believe in prayer, if you want to know what prayer is about, please don't leave here today without tapping one of the practitioners. And now for announcements. Woo! Let's see. Okay, we're going to talk about this. So we do this every year. We have done this every year that I've been coming to this center. So that's, 20 years or so. So do you know that New Year's Eve, Monday night, that people all around the world, not just here in Anchorage, Alaska, or in the lower 48, but people all over the world get together at a very specific time in prayer to bring the new year in this magnificent meditation and prayer. But the lucky thing is that in Alaska, that time comes at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, aren't you excited now? And so what that means for us is that, yes, we actually do come together at the center at 2 o'clock in the morning. 3 a.m., but doesn't it say 2? Oh, sorry. Doors open at 2:30. It's actually at 3 a.m. Even a better time to be awake. But so you are all welcome to come and join in person. But we decided to make it more interesting this year. And so your invitation is to show up at 8:30 for a slumber party. Doesn't that sound like fun? Yes. And yes, I already claimed this blanket. Now I just need a pillow and a bed. Judy, are you actually going to bring your cot? Judy has had this cot in her garage for 15 years. It's never been used. Oh, well, it's going to be used Monday night, 8:30. Judy's going to bring her cot. There's going to be games. There's going to be food. There's going to be fun. And we're going to keep you awake until 3 a.m. How much fun. Oh, my God. That sounds like a lot of It's actually a blast. And my experience with this particular tradition is that you leave having taken care of your soul, having connected with millions of other people. And I cannot think of a better way to walk into the new year than to give yourself that gift. So, today our speaker is Dad. I call him Dad because I took 1 million classes with Kaleem, and I would, beginning of my understanding, and I would ask him questions. And, Kaleem, what's the meaning of life? And he would say, yes. Appreciate that he's still alive and functioning on the planet. But I realized that he had taken on the role of dad in my life because my father always pushed me to understand what was going on in front of me through my own understanding, not him telling me what it is. And so that's why I call Kaleem Dad. And you never know, he might pay for gas one day.
And thank you, and good morning. Well, I was giving clear instructions by my daughter, Linda, that she'll give me a gift of a gas voucher if I end on time today. All right. Because she said, Kaleem, we have this extra time for the candle lighting service today, so what are we going to cut? So I'm going to cut straight to the topic. How's that? All right. And let's give a hand to our wonderful choir again while they're getting their seats. Okay. And so I'm going to get to the point of the purpose of our talk today. I'm going to get to the point of the purpose of the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living today. And I'm going to get to as Linda already indicated during her introduction and our welcoming, that we're all about prayer here. So here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. I'm going to encourage you to start praying now. And to do what they say in the scriptures, to practice praying without ceasing. So I want to encourage us in this very moment, right here and right now, to bring to mind that which you choose to heal in your life, that which you choose to reveal more light and opportunities about in your life. Just take a few moments to bring it to mind. And as you bring that to mind, whether it's a challenge or an opportunity, ask yourself, what's preventing me from experiencing it now? So goes the story of Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, and the celebration of the new year. Really, isn't this really a human prayer? Because Hanukkah, as it's beautifully indicated, it reminds us that in every phase of life, or I should say for many of us, I'll speak from the I, as for myself, and I've read this is true for most of us, okay, and I've experienced this. There comes a time in life, like during the time of Hanukkah, when we're challenged personally, individually, and as a collective community. When there seem to be outside forces trying to force things upon us. And we do know that also sometimes that force is something we have within us that's trying to force with something about our light within us. So we're going to talk about that. One of the lessons, and of course you know about spiritual stories and spiritual analogies. Each one of us can hear the same story, and we may get something different from it. And it should be that way, because we're here to meet each other at the point of our needs. And as I indicated a couple of weeks ago when I was talking, there was a time period when all I needed, what I thought all I needed, was to get over the idea of the death of my parents. That was a major thing in my life. Then there was a time period in life I thought the major thing I needed was how to get over the lack of money, finances. And then there was a period, right? Relationship. Then was a period as a parent. And then there was on and on and on. And then I found a secret that I'm going to share with you today. And the secret was given to us throughout history, for time untold, as it was in the Hanukkah story. And part of what I get from the Hanukkah story is resiliency and infinite source in the middle of a moment of challenge. And of course, I'm sure each one of us can get many other ideas from that as well. And then isn't it wonderful, birth from that story some decades later came another story that we're also, that's why I wanted to include the Christmas candle as well in this, okay? And it's a birth of a individual, and this is my interpretation, what I get from the story of the Christ, who came to earth in fulfillment of a prophecy and a desire for people. And for a couple of things, even though there's many lessons in this Christ story, but a couple of I want to focus on today is doing the same, similar to the Hanukkah story, there was outer political and cultural oppression that the Jews were experiencing during that time period, right? And some people also felt constrained by the laws of the religion. How many of you experienced that before? Okay, personally, I have. All right. And so to me, the Christ spirit represents the identity that I am, that God is, rather than God being some outside force that had temper tantrums at times, okay, it's the wonderful light, it's the voice, it's my Savior, and it had temper tantrums. And then Jesus said, God is our Father. And they say, and I understand in Aramaic, it means God is my Papa, an intimate relationship as a family member. Somebody might call it, today might call it Dad. But I'm not your God, though, don't get me wrong.
I'm not confused.
Okay. But once again, born during a time and came forth as a light in the middle of darkness and challenges, both collectively and personally. And then during the same time period, and also I want to honor the fact and make note of, it just so happens this year, December 25th, that Kwanzaa and Christmas happened to merge on the beginning of Hanukkah, I should say, and Christmas happened to be merged on the same day, December 25th this year. And of course, it's not unusual because of the way Hanukkah works, but also during this week of the 8 days and the 7 days of Kwanzaa has merged together. Isn't this wonderful, right? Wonderful opportunity, right? And Kwanzaa also created in 1966 by Malolongo Karinga, and during the civil rights movement, and a lot of darkness was happening, both collectively and individually. And there was a desire to affirm the African American people, to affirm themselves in many different dimensions. And one of the way was when you have a people who was snatched out of history, snatched out of their collective history, implanted in a foreign land, and by law they were cut off from their history, and they could not even have the light of reading and education by law. And therefore, we want now to recreate creativity, recreate a culture and a celebration. And Malolongo Karinga was that answer. He answered it, and he came forth with this wonderful celebration called Kwanzaa since 1966. Once again, in the midst of darkness, both collectively and personally, came through the celebration of family, community, and culture. And there's no mistake. We also here, depending upon us, the New Year's celebration. And of course, the New Year's celebration is often, it has been celebrated by humanity throughout time because of the celebration of light again. And of course, in the United States or Western culture, rather than a slow rise in the light, we celebrate often with a bang, right? And welcome the new year with intentions and renewal and etc. Okay? So, but notice that most of these celebrations, even New Year's, comes from celebrating coming out of darkness into light. So what is that common? So to keep it short, to the point, Linda, okay? We can now look and see that through all these celebrations, there's something common within them. That is the celebration and the recognition of light. So I'm going to quote Ernest Holmes. Well, I should say this, though. As a metaphysician, as a New Thought thinker, the light that one of the wonderful lights that we bring to the world is the living affirmatively, which means, and here's what's really important to me, and I've been through these different phases. There's a phrase in our culture, our thought, New Thought says, focus on the principle and not on the person. The principle and not on the person. And I'm going to transfer that to our wonderful celebrations. It's easy in each one of these celebrations to focus on the darkness, the outer appearance. Because what the person means to me, the person is the outer appearance of something, right? Appearance, the person. These celebrations are concrete expressions of something. They're symbols of something. And how easy it is to get lost on celebrating the person and to forget the principle of what that person represented or represented to us personally and to humanity. So how easy it is to start worshiping our struggle, begin to worship our pain, to begin to worship our history, and forget that in the midst of the history and the pain, there is a mystery. And this mystery, we call it light. This light in the Bible that says, this light is love, this light is spirit. So behind the symbol of this light is God, or the infinite. So we here in the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living, by the very note of our name, we're here to focus on spirit. Ernest Holmes says, there is a tendency on the part of all of us to reproduce the accumulated subconscious experiences of the human race. The history of the race is written in the mental atmosphere of the globe. Yet, there is a deeper seed of knowledge than the subconscious or subjective mind. It is spirit itself. And then he says, direct contact with spirit is illumination. So let's talk, so part of my topic today is, let me read my own topic, I forgot it already. Okay, the topic of my talk today is a new you yesterday. And that's called a little riddle. Okay? Healing the past and living the light. So where does the new you yesterday comes from? That means that, and I'm going to quote from the Bible again, I should say, okay? And this is from Genesis. Genesis offers a profound truth. And this is another little riddle for us, right? The plant exists in the seed before it touches the ground. The plant exists in the seed before it touches the ground. Now, what does this all mean to me when I'm trying to share with you, okay? That which you're praying for, that which you are desiring, that you need individually and we need collectively is already within us before it appears outwardly. Because what is that we need that is within us? God. And since we already, and the beautiful song is, thank you, Aaron, you're such a genius, okay? The beautiful music she put together, God is. So as Ernest Holmes says, we're looking for something that we're looking with. Or as someone said, we're the fish in the ocean looking for water. God is. So all this we're going through is reminding us that that which we're looking for already is. But what is the out picture of what we want? Because what's happening is really important that we are what's called a practical metaphysical community, which means we don't just want to stay on the mountaintop, and I love to go on retreats, spiritual retreats, and meditate, right? But then you also want to come back down in life and live. But also I don't want to get caught up in some of the darkness that I was living before I went on my retreat, right? So we're what's called a practical metaphysical movement, which means we want to now take this higher knowledge and wisdom and live it in our everyday life. So, as part of that, we want to know and remember that we want to enjoy life in all of our roles. For example, some of us, and like I mentioned, we go through different phases in life. Some of us, we are a grandson. That's one of our titles, right? And we're a friend. We're a son. We're a sibling. We have sisters and brothers. And our role could be we're a nephew, right? We're a niece. As you do know, especially as you adults, we'll find out, when we leave home for 10, 20 years and you go back for the community celebrations, you got to return to your role, right? Right? It's amazing how that works. Okay, you've been making decisions for decades, but can't make a decision for yourself anymore, right? Because why? And it's kind of fun, right? At the same time, that it represents also something about this. We create life habits, okay? And we create these life habits not only in our present life, decisions we made, we create life habits because of the way we were raised, the environment we were raised in. And guess what? As Ernest Holmes says, not only in our physical birth, life habits are given to us, we inherit it through our collective consciousness of what everybody's thinking. We're open to that and receptive to that, like radio waves and radio receivers. That's the way it works. And of course, this was a mystery, and it's very ethereal thinking, right? And today they call it epigenetics. Look that up if you don't know what it is. And basically what it says is that which your ancestors have experienced are encoded in your very biological cells and genes. And we're living out things today. We have no idea why we're thinking it, why we have these certain habits, because it happened some generations ago. Not only from the stories we've heard, but the stories that are encoded in our very biological cells. Okay? So in the midst of that, so how easy it is to get lost in the story. For my example, my grandson has a thing about allergies, certain nuts from trees, right? Where'd that come from, right? And what was the reason why that was a good thing sometimes 10,000 years ago or whatever? But now it's still encoded in his experience today, right? And so we want to enjoy life. We want to enjoy life whether in all the different roles we play. We want to also have transformed relationships of peace and joy and harmony. We also want to manifest abundance. Now, why, as Linda asked me, prosperity, right? Why was that part of my affirmation? Well, as we do know, those of who took the class called Spiritual Economics, prosperity is more than money. Prosperity is more than cars and homes. Prosperity is an inner knowingness that I am sourced and all is well. And this is what we're praying for. This is what we're praying for, that we go to work or do our service in the community, that we feel inspired and fulfilled, and for many of us, having a sense of life mission and purpose is so important. So how do we get there, Kaleem, is the question, right? Well, Linda already gave us the answer. What do? We pray. And we pray in many different ways. Matter of fact, what I love about what the New Thought community has given us, this thing called affirmative prayer or spiritual mind treatment, is this: we have these 5 steps of prayer. And as we discussed in our foundation class recently, and these 5 steps of prayer is really a cocktail. So Happy New Year's, you have a cocktail. Okay? It's a cocktail of spiritual practices. And one of the first things we want to do in life, and whether you're thinking with the psychological motivation, Okay, and for example, as we do know, they've even, once again, all these etherical things we've talked about for decades, they have now boiled it down to a science called positive psychology. And part of positive psychology is if you want to achieve something in life, you got to set your intentions. Isn't that the true first step of affirmative prayer? We often forget. We set an intention of something we want to experience or desire. And then, of course, it's also this wonderful spiritual practice called practicing the presence. I'm sorry, first of all, before you practice presence, you recognize there is a presence. This was one of the steps of affirmative prayer. I spend time acknowledging and observing the idea that there is an infinite something, and we call it by infinite names. And then, of course, as we keep in this practice, these steps, sometimes we say it in a 1-minute miracle, but sometimes I would recommend in this holiday season, you take time to meditate on this thing called oneness. Oh, this infinite something that I'm at one with. And then, of course, it's important to declare. Now, watch this, though. It's important when we do our spiritual practices, whatever meditation or prayer you use, that we do it out of spiritual living consciousness, which means I want my higher self, I want God to speak to me what I declare. See the difference there? So we get away from just declaring something because I think I want it. Listen to your inner self. Listen to that light within you that we call God or the infinite or your higher power, to what you should be declaring. And then, of course, once we declare it, then as they say in the Bible, speak it as though it already is. And how do we do that? We give thanks as though it already is in the outer form, because we do know in the seed is the plant before it appears outwardly. Your highest good, that which you are desiring, that which you are praying for, already exists. Reverend Nancy told us when you have a desire, deep, Deo, sired by God, it already is. So just know that. Then how do we plant it? How do we nurture it? How do we shine the energy of the light upon it so that now it comes to manifestation? We be thankful for it. And we need to release it. I'm going to pause on release for a moment. Release also means the gift that Jesus brought us is forgiveness. I need to let go and let God. And we remember now, forgiveness does not mean, as Ernest Holmes said, we're not a doormat. But I'm going to forgive and let go because I want to grow. The only way I can hold you in non-forgiveness is to be there in that past experience. And that limits, retards my growth. They call it, well, I'll move on from there, okay? Arrested development, okay? All right, so part of letting go is letting go of anything that was holding me back, but also the affirmative part of letting go and releasing, I'm now going to release and trust God, the law of God, to manifest and bring into outward form my good desires. So we're here today to say that you can live your best self today because you're already your best self. You can live your good and ever-increasing good today because you already are that today. So in this very sanctuary today, as we conclude our service today, I declare for each one of us that we're having a breakthrough. I'm declaring for each one of us that listening to it on this online today or for time untold, oh, there's good and ever-increasing good that is yours today, now, because it already is. And I'm declaring that we have healed our past. Why? Because we are now extracting from all of our experiences, whether it's historical trauma or historical resiliency, we are extracting the good from it with the light of spiritual awareness. And we leave the trappings behind and we bring the light, remembrance of the light that is within us, into the present moment now. And therefore we can say that we're living the light. we can now say that we are living spiritually and not circumstantially. And you can now say, whether it's by membership writing or not, you're now a member of the Center for Spiritual Living. Let us pray. And in this wonderful moment, this wonderful season of light, this wonderful seasons of ever-increasing light, ever-increasing acknowledgement that which we desire already is. Because why? Because God is. And because God is the absolute and God is the infinite, then we know by consequence we must be a part of this infinite presence, this infinite power, this infinite wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. We must be a part of this light. Therefore, I give thanks for the ancestors who devoted their time, their effort, their creativity, and their prayers, and their very physical lives, so we could stand here today in a greater freedom than ever before. And so I give honor to the light of Hanukkah, to the Christ light of Christmas, and for the wonderful lights of Kwanzaa, and for the blasting forth of the new year. For sometimes this wonderful awareness that comes upon us gradually, as though the dawning light of solstice, and sometimes it comes upon us suddenly, like the fireworks of a new year. And I just know that for each one of our desires, whether it's coming gradually or as a sudden blast of light and energy, God is, and your good desires already are, and they are manifesting in and as your life in the here and the now. And for this, I'm so thankful that it is so. I give thanks for the ancestors. I give thanks for those who labor with us today in prayer, in service, in all the different dimensions. And I give thanks for all those who have said, I choose to know, I choose to grow, and I choose to glow as the light of God. For God is the tree, and we are the branches. And for this, I'm so thankful that it is so. Please join me in affirming, and so it is. Amen. Peace and blessings.
Time for tithing collection. So please give what you can. Place it upon your heart. And our affirmation. Please join me. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is. And so as I close out today, just a reminder, we're going to be celebrating Pat Stye's life today at 2 o'clock. Everybody's welcome to join us. So before I close out, I also wanted to recognize those who are online with us today. Tony, Shannon, Nanetta, Susie Peterson, Anne Marie, Michelle Kuntz, Barbara Taylor, Karen. Hi, Karen. And Sandy Palmer. Happy New Year to everybody. So as we close out, what are you hearing? What do you currently need to get over? What do we need to heal, whether personally or collectively? Let us step into our cocktail of spiritual practices to celebrate and recognize the mystery that is also known as the light. God has planted the seeds within us, the seeds that contain all that is needed. We are one in prayer. We are one in God. For God is, and we are. So let us shine our light. Help me anchor this by saying, and so it is.